Well, welcome to what I believe is the fourth edition of the Police Federal Credit Union of Omaha's Blue Family News Q&A series. For those that want to know, I am the CEO of the POCUA, and that is unimportant. But what is important is I am very privileged to facilitate this meeting. We have a great expert, as we always do, on the Blue Family News Q&A. We have Pete James, and let me tell you a little bit about him before we start asking him some very serious questions. Pete, most importantly, has been with the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department for 26 years. Whether you would call him retired or former, he spent quite a while in that department. Moving up the ranks from deputy to sergeant to lieutenant, and he is an expert in computer forensics and digital forensics. One fun fact that I found out from meeting Pete in person a couple weeks ago, this I did not know, that in the sheriff's department in the state of California, you have to get started working in the jails, but he informed me that every time you get promoted, you go back to work in the jails. So I always thought, wow, well, that sounds like a great perk. Hey, you're getting promoted. Guess what? You're going back to prison. So I don't know, but maybe Pete will talk about that later. But most importantly, he is the founder of OfficerPrivacy.com, which is a business that takes information that law enforcement and law enforcement families have personally on the internet, and take some of that off of there to help protect them and their families. Pete, welcome to the Q&A.
Thank you very much. Good to be here, Ken.
We're glad to have you. What's it like out there? You've been running OfficerPrivacy.com for a little under a decade now, from what I understand. And I don't think it's ever been more difficult for law enforcement professionals than the last year and a half. What are you seeing out there? What are the risks for law enforcement professionals and their families out on the internet?
So I guess this can be summarized in a short story about Matt and Christina Dages. Matt was an officer with La Mesa Police Department, which is in California near San Diego. He was involved in an incident where he merely pushed a man from standing to a seated position. This was videotaped. There is a pre-story of that. It was a consensual encounter, which they were allowed to do, encouraged to do. But the bottom line is, in a very, very short story, he pushed him, and that was it. No injuries, no complaint of pain, nothing. It was videotaped. It was put online. Within 2 hours, protesters were at the front door of their home address. That's the world we're living in.
Yeah.
It was 2 days after the George Floyd incident, so everyone was very amped up. And even though the incident was cleared, the use of force was investigation, he was cleared by his department, he was later fired by his department. And it's a really, really sad story. So they are fighting for their job back. Matt is fighting for his job back, and it's a very, very unfortunate. But on the privacy side of it, our information is out there. Unless we take steps, proactive steps to remove it, our home address, our date of birth, our email address, the names of our relatives, all of that information is out there. And you don't need any special access to see it. So you don't have to pay for a membership for any sites or anything. So it's out there free, open, and available for everyone. And it's there, and it's going to stay there unless you take steps to remove it.
What are some of the most common mistakes that you see out there, not only from police officers, but from law enforcement families, in terms of allowing or putting information out there in the public?
Social media, Facebook, Instagram, sharing private information, sharing information about moments in their life that they're proud of. And while it's very nice to get those, those likes and those comments, if your account is open to the public, you're sharing that information with the world, which if you're an officer, I don't think is a good idea. If I were to say, I advertise on Facebook and I reach out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google to get clients, right? I need to do that. I need to reach my client base and I need to bring them in and tell them about officer privacy. So on the one hand, that's really good. On the other hand, I don't like social media. Personally, I don't like it, there's more to dislike than I like. I like seeing updates with people's life, and I like that, but there's more to dislike, in my opinion. So the mistake that people are making, they're posting information and it's available to the public about their private information. When their kid gets, student of the month, okay, well now I know what school your kid goes to. Your wife got a promotion at work. Well, now I know where she works. And I say wife because often it's
Right.
the spouse. It's not always a female. It's not always a wife. Sometimes it's the husband. Is not nearly as vigilant with the information that they're posting.
You made a very important point. Don't remember exactly in which forum, whether it was on the podcast or last time we talked in person, is that many times the officer, him or herself, may be very diligent and for a number of reasons may not be really crazy about being on social media. But the spouse, especially for instance, to switch it around, you may have a female police officer and maybe a husband that owns, say, a hardware store. And he's on social media talking about the great new battery powered leaf blower that's available and so forth. Somebody makes the connection that officer Julie Smith is married to Howard Smith, the owner of the local hardware store, and uses that information to, in one way, shape, or form, bash the hardware store. Those types of things happen out there, correct?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
We have seen officers pulling back from social media. We used to advertise, we still advertise through social media, but we've had to find other ways to get to the officer because they're not there. But, it's not even just their spouse or significant other. It's their family members. It's mom and dad. Oh, we're so proud of our officer, as they should be. But they can't be posting that because they're subjecting their family to, subjecting that information to be out there and putting that family at risk. So I see a lot of that. I know personally from being raised in a law enforcement family that I have my stuff locked down as tight as I think it needs to be. I'm sure there's still information out there. I know I still, even though it's a closed-knit group, I still post pictures of my grandkids once in a great while. But again, trying not to share too much information, maybe not putting their name in there or where they're going to school or, hey, great, their ball team did this, but not putting the name of the ball team out there, that kind of thing. I think that's really important that we've got to drill down to the real detail of how our information is out there. I know if I Google myself, I'm out there, I've seen it. So I think that this is a nice piece to add. We take officer privacy and their families' privacy very seriously, and we're trying to put together a package to keep them, to assist them to stay as safe as possible. And I just think this is another great way to do that.
Yeah, and there are privacy settings where you can make yourself private, where only your connections, I'm talking Facebook, where only your connections, your friends will see your posts, your future and past posts. So I think that's step one. And then make sure your friends are really who they are. The account really is that person, and it's not a fake account created by someone to get close to you and get inside your friend group. Fake accounts are not difficult to create.
When I get one of those requests, and I get them, I would say like once or twice a month, I immediately look at, okay, who else are you friends with? Because I don't know you. And two, what are you posting on your Facebook? And three, where are you coming from? If you have like just three pictures and that's it, there are no mutual friends that you and I have, and you're coming from Indonesia, no offense to anybody in Indonesia, but I don't have any friends there, I'm going to delete that friend request. But to bring it back to the Midwest of Nebraska, Iowa, and South Dakota, where Police Federal Credit Union of Omaha serve, I know that from this particular credit union, they're very focused on not only serving the police officer, but serving the entire family, which has served both the credit union and their members very well. And in that dynamic, many times maybe the officer doesn't need to be on social media, but there is a need for the spouse to be on social media. Case in point, maybe if it is a male officer and a female wife and mother that is on in the PTA, that does organize the kids softball, that does have a church group or book club and things of that nature. There's a need. Maybe it's just a want, but a social need, and even possibly even more of a need to be on social media and be involved in that. In those cases, do you have any suggestions in terms of how to keep your family safe and not live in a non-social media bubble per se?
Well, I would say, think about the information you're posting and how somebody could use it against you. Mm-hmm. If you're going down to Mexico for a vacation, don't post while you're there. If you're going to post about your vacation in Mexico, wait until you come back. Because of course, we know that you're not at your home. If you just landed in Cancun, well, okay, we know that nobody's at your home, or maybe you have somebody house sitting, but it's possible, likely that nobody is at your home. So, I talk about this. Search for yourself as somebody who is as an attacker would. Think about how an attacker would view the information that you are posting and how they could use that against you. So I think that's just before you hit post, just think, okay, well, is there anything in here that could be used to harm us, or a little piece of the puzzle that would harm us? I don't want to be so paranoid and so weird and be a privacy nut where,
right.
We have to, live in a cabin up in the mountains. It's not that, but I think there's a balance, and we've all seen them. We all have friends that overshare. I mean, it's like, okay, that's a great dinner. Okay, every day mac and cheese. I mean, every day. I don't need to know what you're eating for lunch and dinner. Getting back to privacy, myself, I post very little. I share very little, and I'm okay with that. But for those that want to post more, I totally get that. You're part of a group. You're part of the in crowd when you're posting in some of these groups, and there's some benefit to that. But I would just remind everybody that there are bad people out there and they want to do bad things to us. So limit the amount of information we give them and make it difficult for them to harm us.
Well, I'm curious, and I don't know that this falls into this so much, but I am finding now, it's just very recent, text messages. I'm getting text messages that you can tell are not appropriate, and obviously I just delete them. I don't open them, but we're taught that if you get a text that you don't want, you're supposed to text back stop, so that they can't send you, if it's a reputable place, so that they don't no longer contact you via text. But I did read up that on these other types of texts that you should just delete them, not try to respond, stop, not try to respond in any manner. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. And I have also just recently started receiving those. And excuse me. So yes, just delete, swipe, delete. Don't click on the link. Don't even open it. Just, you can just tell, like you were saying, this is not right. And so, yeah, just delete. And you guys probably push, don't click on links in email, right? Don't click on them. And that's good advice. Unless they're emails from me, then because I do put links in my emails, but anyway, so you guys may very well do the same thing with your clients where you have, links to log into their account or, to go to this part of your website. So, it's kind of opposite. We tell people don't click on links, but then we ask them to click on our links. So yes, good advice. Delete, don't even open. And as far as where they're getting their phone number, I just think they're just blasting them out randomly. I don't think they don't have any identifying information, so they don't know it's us. It's just a pure blast. And I pay for the service Call Protect, which is through AT&T. It's $3.99 a month, and they are supposed to identify spam calls, marketing calls, political fundraising, and then won't let them through. But it's not 100%. I still get a few of those, like those texts that you're talking about. They still come through, but I think they do a pretty good job.
Yeah, these, especially for the audience that may be seeing this on recording, these folks are really clever out there. They make texts look legitimate. I've actually typed stop. I will stop doing that and just delete them. But to your point with links and so forth, and Mary and all the other experts at Police Federal, I know you know this, that some of these people are really sharp with a lot of time on their hands, and they make especially emails look very legitimate. As a very quick story, I'm very good at noticing, given my background, when emails are obviously fraudulent. But every once in a while, I almost get fooled. And one that was really good, if it wasn't so evil, I would actually applaud this person. Sent a PayPal email, and I do use PayPal. You sent a PayPal email to me, and it looked really legitimate. And I even look at the sender's email because sometimes they look good, and there's like 75 letters at gmail.com, and that it's not legitimate. But this one was something very legitimate that looked like it was paypal.com. Fortunately, before clicking on anything, I noticed that they sent it to an email that I don't use for PayPal. And then notice that in paypal.com, instead of PAL, it was PA1. And I'm like, now that is damn clever. You almost got me. So my point is some of these people are really, really clever. And it's unfortunate that they're using those skills for evil, but you got to look out for those types of things, right, Pete?
Absolutely. And I was just looking at the FTC's report on identity theft, and they said the number one way that people fall victim to identity theft is through phishing emails.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they are very clever, and they just copy and paste logos and the look of real emails, and they're very good at it. When I used to work for a corporation doing investigations and forensics for them, we would get a lot of those. So I got pretty good at looking at the email header to look for clues that it was a phishing email. Because sometimes we would get legitimate emails from vendors, and we just didn't know. So we would have to look at the header and determine if it was legit or not. Because so much of emails can be spoofed. And if you Google email spoofing, there are dozens of sites that will allow you to create a fake email. You can put in there whatever you want the sender to be. It can be a corporation, it can be a person, it can be whatever. send it to your victim, and it looks legit. You have to look at the header information of the email, which is not visible unless you take some extra steps to see it. So anyway, if you can spoof emails. Google email spoofing sites, and you'll see dozens will come up. You can fake text messages as well. Speaking of spoofing and forensics and altering digital evidence, there are apps you can get that you can create fake text messages, complete with sender, receiver, emojis. You can fake the look of what your phone screen looks like with battery level, service like AT&T or Verizon. All these things can be faked, and you can then like take a screenshot of that and then send it to someone, say, look what somebody just sent me. It's all fake. Again, Google text message spoofing or fake text message. There are sites that do this for you. And, it's funny when it's a joke, but it is dangerous, and it's very, very easy to do. So spoofing text messages, fake emails, fake text messages, a lot of sites out there that do that.
I would argue that it isn't even funny when it's a joke. I don't want to be spoofed that way. One of my last questions, and you may have already highlighted some of these things, Pete, but are there a couple of tips that people can, especially police officers and their families, that they can do that are fairly easy or simple that can help protect themselves and their families?
I would start with, search for yourself as an attacker would. Go to Google and become aware of what information is out there on the internet that can be easily found. If you put your first and last name in quotes and then the city you live in and the word address, you'll see the sites that come up. So start there and just become aware of what information is there, and then decide whether it's okay with you or not. Because there has to be a balance there. For Facebook and social media, look at what can be found from an outside account, from an account that is not your friend. How much is exposed? Because you can limit that. So I have other privacy tips in an ebook. It is free. It's at officerprivacy.com/ebook. I encourage you to get that. It's 36 pages, a lot of tips and a lot of links in there to help take your privacy back. I just yesterday sent off a new revision for an updated copy of it, so that will be rolling out within the next couple of weeks. But I'll let everyone know who has signed up for the first one that the new one is out there and available when that comes out. So, think seriously about your privacy. As far as online accounts, I think the most important thing you can do is set up two-factor authentication. Everybody here knows about that because they're in the financial industry and they need to use that for the accounts that they access. But essentially, it is a one-time extra password that is sent to your generally email or cell phone that allows you to access your account. You need that in addition to your regular password. So you can set up two-factor authentication on every single account that you have, your social media accounts, your financial institution accounts, as well as your email accounts, because your email account is very important, more important than many other accounts. And it's because if you don't remember your password, what do? You say forgot password, and then an email link is sent to a link is sent to your email saying, okay, here, press this button and set up your new password. Well, if somebody has access to your email account, they can go to your account, they can go through your emails and say, oh, well, look, they have an account at this credit union and this brokerage account and this one. Then they log in, or they try and log in because they don't know the password, forgot password. They get an email, they're in your email, they reply to it, they set up a new password, they delete the email so you never see it, and then they set up two-factor authentication so you can't get back into your account. So your email account is very important, and you can set up two-factor authentication with that all the big providers offer two-factor authentication. So, kind of lock down and do these things before you really think they need to get done, because once the cat's out of the bag, it's too late. So, but, start slow, start with baby steps. One last thing I'll throw out there, password managers. With a password manager, you remember one password, and you shouldn't even know the passwords of all of your other accounts because your password manager is storing them from you. I use LastPass, and I remember one password, and then every other password I have are these crazy, nonsensical uppercase, lowercase number, special character, 20 characters long. I could never remember it, but I don't need to because the password manager does it. And it syncs across devices. So, it's actually more convenient, because if you use like Google Chrome to save your passwords, you got to be logged into Chrome on your phone, and I have an iPhone. They use Safari, so it doesn't. LastPass actually makes it easier. I can get into accounts because it goes to my phone. So I would suggest doing that.
Yeah. Awesome tips. I need to use LastPass more often, but I hear you on the two-factor authentication. As we close up here in this session of our Blue Family News Q&A, I understand that OfficerPrivacy.com is partnering with Police Federal Credit Union of Omaha, and I know that you've come across this system not by chance, but over years and years of trial and error and finding exactly the layers and so forth. As we close up, maybe you can talk about your process and what you offer for OfficerPrivacy.com as we close out the session.
All right. So our focus is to protect the home address of our clients. Like right now, your real name is out there, and there's nothing we can do about that. Your real name is going to be there. It's going to be on press releases, your department's Facebook posts. Your real name is going to be out there. Your real home address is going to be out there. It's going to be on Realtor.com, Zillow, Redfin. It's going to be there. These sites, they make the connection between your real name and your real home address. We want to break that connection. And we do that by removing you from those sites. So you're still going to be there. Your house is still going to be there, but we don't want somebody to be able to say, Ken lives at 123 Main Street. That's what we want to do. So we have two services. One is where we do everything for you. You sign up, fill out one simple form, send it in, and my team of current and former law enforcement officers will remove you from the top 30 people search sites like whitepages.com, been verified, Spokio, Radaris, those. We remove you. Once we remove you, then we monitor. If you show up again, because you will show up again, we will remove you again. The other service we offer is access to the software that we use. I had software created so that we can remove you from these sites quickly. It generally takes about 2 hours spread out over a couple of weeks, an hour in the first session, a half hour a week later, and a half hour a week later. I made that software free. So it is free to use for 14 days. You can go to OfficerPrivacy.com, sign up, free trial 14 days, use the software, and remove your information from those sites. So premium version, where we do it for you. You don't have to worry about it. The free version, free for 14 days, go in, do it yourself. I have instructions. I have screenshots with bright red arrows. We have quick links to make the whole process easier. I have tips and tricks for quick removals, and I provide those for the quick removal software, the do-it-yourself. I provide that. You sign up for the premium service, don't worry about it. Fill out one form. We take care of everything for you.
Terrific. Yeah, Pete, I really appreciate you being here today. I appreciate your expertise, and really honor what you're doing out there for law enforcement. Highly appreciative, Pete.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Ken. I appreciate it. Thank you.
As we close up today, Mary, do you have any last words as the CEO of Police Federal Credit Union of Omaha?
Actually, I just want to take this time to thank Pete for taking the time to do this, to help us get the message across to our membership, because we do feel it's very important. And Ken, I want to thank you for bringing Pete to us. So this has been a great overall venture.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you, Mary. Thank you again, Pete. And thank you to all of you who have joined us live and to all of you that may be watching this recording. Stay safe out there, and we'll be back with you with another Blue Family News Q&A soon. Thank you for watching the Blue Family News Q&A series, brought to you by Police Federal Credit Union of Omaha. To learn more about Police Federal Credit Union of Omaha, go to opfcu.net.